Hi, welcome to Evergreen Learning Spotlight. Today I'm joined by three folks from Heritage High School and we're talking about co-teaching. I'd like to introduce you to our guests now. Joining me is Don Johnson, who works in special ed at Heritage, Erick Suksdorf, who's a special ed teacher, and Courtney Wallenborn, an English teacher. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Don, let's start with you. Can you talk a little bit about the whole concept of co-teaching and how long you've been using that up at Heritage?
Sure. We've been working for probably the last 3 years or so on finding ways to include students with IEPs or who are in special education into our general education curriculum and classes. One of the ways that we have included those students is through a co-teaching model. It's one element that we use in terms of pushing in services to students in general ed classes and providing them with that curriculum. We started with some math classes. Then we moved to more of a supportive teaching role. And finally this year we have really expanded our services in terms of co-teaching into all levels of English as well as math.
Now you said IEP, so for our viewers, can you explain what an IEP is?
An IEP is an individualized education plan that a student with a disability has in place that identifies the kinds of services and supports they need to be successful in school.
Okay. Now, has there been any kind of laws that changed that have pushed Heritage to this, or kind of explain how you got there?
Sure. Well, there hasn't been an actual law change, but instead there's a concept in the law for special education called least restrictive environment. And what that means is students are legally obligated to be educated in the general ed classroom if at all possible. Sometimes there has to be additional supports or accommodations to be successful in those classrooms, but that's what the law is. Okay. Case law has helped to define that for us, and that's where we are with the push into general education.
Great. So Erick and Courtney, how long have you two been co-teaching together, and how's that working? How many classes are you doing each day?
We started last year in October, and we did a test run of a few classes to see how it would go, to see if it was working for the students. And then we had a lot of success. So this year we took on 4 periods of co-taught sophomore English class, and have done that this entire year, and it's been absolutely amazing.
So Courtney, explain a little bit about how that works in the classroom, maybe an example of what it looks like.
Well, we both use the workshop model. So to start the classroom, Erick will usually get up and explain our learning targets, what the plan is for the day. We'll always have bell work, so whether it's reviewing what we did yesterday or having them write a journal response, and then move into the mini lesson, which is what I usually do. And that's just explaining the curriculum, what we're trying to teach them. And then we'll model, and either of us will do that, and then let them work, and while they work, both of us are around the classroom helping students. So instead of a general teacher, one person in the classroom with 30 to 35 kids, you have 2 of us that can reach more students.
So how did you divvy up who does what? I mean, did you flip a coin, or what did you do?
There are a lot of different models that you can do for co-teaching. There's so many different ways to do it. The one that we found that worked for us is the shared responsibility, where it really is 50-50. It took a lot of practice in the beginning. We were able to kind of sit down and talk about what our core beliefs were as teachers, what our goals were, and what we wanted to accomplish for students, and we just matched up so well. I mean, our goal is, when you walk in, to have no idea who the special ed teacher is, or the general ed teacher is, or who the students are. We just work it out on a daily plan, and like we said, with the workshop model, it sets up a routine for us, and the kids are used to that.
So you said you've been doing this since last year. How did you hear about this?
I was in an English department meeting, and Charbonneau Gord, who is one of our associate principals, had mentioned co-teaching, and if anybody was interested to contact him. And so I thought about it for a day, and then I emailed him, and I said, I'll do it. And then we ended up being paired together.
How's that working?
It's been awesome. Like, I love coming to work.
That's great. So we recently sent a camera out to Heritage in your English class to get some shots of the 2 of you working together. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're going to see?
Yeah, absolutely. We're in a unit right now with the Holocaust, and we're reading the novel Night. And so what we did is we have the novel that we have, and then we have a project that Courtney found called the Butterfly Project. So as you guys were recording us, we talked about some of the poems that were written in the book. What was that one?
It was called The Very Last Butterfly, I think. And it's pictures and poems written by children who were in the terrorism camp.
Right.
So they put a book together.
Well, great. Let's take a look at that video and we'll talk on the other side of it.
Kiss the world goodbye. For 7 weeks I've lived in here, penned up inside this ghetto. But I have found what I love here. The dandelions call to me and the white chestnut branches in the court. Only I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one. Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto. Okay, so what we would like you to do is go through the poem The Butterfly, okay, and answer these 3 questions. Who do you think wrote this poem? Yes, we do have a name. Okay, but what do you think about Pavel? Who do you think he is? Okay, what experiences do you think generated this poem, and to what is the poem referring? Do we want to start the death now?
Yeah.
Okay. While you are answering these questions, every minute, one of you will die. Okay, so like the children, 90% of them perished. Okay, so today, you will have your sentence. So go ahead, start answering those questions. We will put music on in the background.
You guys understand what we're doing? Yeah. Okay, so make sure you go through that poem and then answer those 3 questions and be willing to share your thoughts out loud, okay? And then when we go through our own poems, we have different things that we'll have you guys look at, okay?
If you figured it out, help those around you.
He wants me.
Yeah, he wants that freedom. He wants to be able to leave, but he's penned up there. He's lived there forever. The only thing he has going for him are dandelions, okay?
You guys doing okay?
People.
But all the people are leaving too because they're being deported or killed, right?
Yeah.
Good. Good. Write it out. We're doing well. I think they're almost done.
Okay. You want to lead the discussion on that?
Yeah. I'm talking.
Yeah.
After the next one dies.
5 seconds and yeah. Right.
All right. Stop what you're doing, eyes up. Preben has just been killed by gas chamber. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to go into a little bit of a class discussion. So what I'd like you to do, lights on. All right. So we're just going to bounce ideas off each other and just kind of see where it goes. So if we focus on the first question, we know that Pavel wrote the poem. What do you think he's like? Yes?
He's over the denial. He's more kind of numb to it now. He's more of like accepting it, what's happening.
Okay. Yeah. Can you put yourself in this person's shoes and picture what's going on around her?
I can picture it, but I can't. I never been through that.
Oh, yeah. But you can imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh, I'd do this, I'd do that. Well, really, would you? You know? I mean, she even tells you right here. Okay, they're talking about just people dying. Everyone's killing each other. She's at a camp where they take people into rooms and gas them. What do you think the second part of the poem is trying to say?
Nope.
Maybe more of us, 1,000 strong, will reach this goal before too long.
Yeah.
What is she hoping for?
For it to stop.
Okay, what you're going to do is the next couple days we'll be making our butterflies and we will send them
Relax, listen.
to the museum in Houston. So you will have a part in the Holocaust Museum forever. Okay, those butterflies represent all of the children that were lost in the concentration camps. According to the Butterfly Project, 1.5 million. So they're looking to collect 1.5 million butterflies.
Yeah. Hey guys, as you go ahead and follow your exit directions, make sure I get your poems. You may not take those. We need those for every class. And then your death sentence, okay? We'd like you to stack or put that right in the middle of your table, please. Don't keep it. Yeah, your death sentence.
Keep your close reading papers, okay? They're cardstock for a reason, so you hold on to them and don't lose them.
Make sure you push in chairs, straighten tables. Good job. Be ready to roll tomorrow.
Well, that was actually a really interesting video. Tell me about the students we saw in that class. Now, I know you mentioned before that we shouldn't be able to tell the difference, but just to give our viewers a feel, what are some of the issues that some of the students are dealing with?
Well, currently most of our classes are about a third special education students, and we just have a very wide variety of students with different disabilities. We have students that have academic disabilities that just need learning support with reading and writing skills. We have students that have some behavioral and some social disabilities. We have some students that have some cognitive disabilities. So there's a very large range of students with different disabilities that we support in there.
Great. Now, Courtney, you're an English teacher. You were teaching general education classes prior to the co-teaching. How do you keep the students motivated when maybe some of the other students aren't coming along quite as quickly? And how does that all work out?
The way that we have our classroom set up is they're put into groups of 4, and we sat down and handpicked who was going in what group. So you have a leader who usually catches on to things a little more quickly, and they are then in charge of kind of helping everybody around their group. So I think it puts them in a leadership role, and they feel responsibility for not only getting their work done, but helping the people around them as well.
Now, are the students in the class aware that it's kind of commingled in there, or they just think this is a regular English class?
They think it's a random seating chart.
Yes.
All right. So how do you think this works with 2 teachers tag teaming? Do you think it's more effective teaching this way, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that for me on the special education side, the more support that our students get, the more success we see. And we get them out of the smaller communities and we get them in with the general ed population. And for me, it's just been so amazing to watch because our students shine. They see the bar, raised. They know that the expectation is sophomore English, and they go in there and they challenge themselves and they take it like that. And it's so neat watching the general ed students take on those leadership roles, and they have no idea what they're doing, but it just kind of flows together, and it's been absolutely fantastic watching our students excel.
That's great. Now, Dawn, are there any classes this wouldn't work in?
Well, we are supporting the classes that have content of English or math, because for IEPs we do specially designed instruction in the areas of reading, writing, and math. So that's why we're doing that. There's different kinds of co-teaching models that might work for higher level kinds of courses, but in general those are the classes we support right now.
So, always being fiscally conscious, I guess I need to ask the question. You've got 2 teachers in a classroom that's the same size as most other classes. How are we paying for that? How's that working?
There's been no change in terms of the allocation of funds or teachers from how we used to operate. Instead, it's how we move those resources around. So we used to teach a separate English class, for an example. Now we combine to teach one. And so we do have probably more sections of English in our school now, or math. Those content area classes we may have a couple more sections of, but there's no more allocation of funds.
Okay, that makes sense. So what do you think the greatest benefit of co-teaching is?
I think seeing kids who really didn't have anybody believe in them, and then having them flourish in the classroom setting is amazing. I mean, we had a kid last year who all Fs, and his parents shipped him up to Alaska, right? Didn't he go to Alaska? And he sent Sukes a message that was like, I'm getting A's and B's in here. You guys changed my life. And that right there in itself, I mean, you can't even describe it.
That's great. Is this only happening at Heritage, or is it happening out at the other schools at all?
Every one of our high schools across the district is doing some form of co-teaching. It may look different at each of the high schools depending on their needs and their student culture, but each of the high schools are doing some form of it.
That's great. So is there anything else that you want people to know about co-teaching that we haven't touched on already, or?
I think we're excited by the data that we're seeing in terms of increasing student achievement as measured by test scores, grades, attendance, lowering of disciplinary referrals. So we're really encouraged by that data.
Absolutely. I would also add that I feel a lot of people ask me, so what do? You don't teach the same as the other sophomore English teachers, you lower it, our expectation is grade level. We teach sophomore English curriculum. And then between the two of us, we're able to give the proper support and the accommodations and modifications to the students who need it, both special ed and general ed, where they're able to do the same things as every other class.
That's great. Well, I want to thank the three of you for joining me today and keep up the good work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.